What's up, everybody? Welcome to Boot Wizard. Of course, you know me. My name is James, and we've got something a bit different, a bit special for you today. If you saw last week, I did a video where I tried to live like a pro on game day for an entire day. You saw me cooking and taking in the supplements that a pro would use. Insert prop here. And what I've managed to do is the supplements I chose to use were the soccer supplements from Soccer Supplement. And I've managed to get somebody from the company to come on and chat to me and answer all of our questions about what is a topic that is very well known, as in like people use soccer supplements, but they don't know a lot about how they're made, what they are, and if you even need them. So I am going to pass even straight over to Mark. Mark, please do introduce yourself. Who are you and why are we chatting today?
Hi, I'm Mark. I work for Soccer Supplement. I'm one of the co-founders of the business. We're chatting today to answer all your questions you've got about supplements, really, and hopefully to have a general football chat off the back of it. But, you know, to answer any misconceptions or to answer any points that people have kind of want to know or have asked or sent in questions, whatever it may be, I'm here to discuss all things supplements and football.
Fantastic. So, Mark, if people do want to check you out as a result of either seeing this or they're just looking for some brand new supplements, where can they find you? Where can we find Soccer Supplement?
SoccerSupplement.com is the best place to find us, or we've got Soccer Supplements, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just type Soccer Supplement into it and you'll find us there.
Perfect. And of course, if you do want to subscribe to us here, we are at BootWizard and BootWizard Boot Reviews on Instagram, and Soccer Supplement have been kind enough to give us a discount code for their website. So go to soccersupplement.com, and if you use the code UpMyGame5, you can get 20% off until the end of this month. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to thank you directly, Mark, as you are indeed. We haven't just got anybody; we have a co-founder of Soccer Supplement on the channel today. But you are a co-founder. How did you actually get started? Because a lot of people go into football, like myself, football boots, people collect shirts, and people get into these things in a variety of ways. But how did you end up getting into supplements, and then specifically Soccer Supplement? How did that start?
So when I came out of university and I was working, long story short, I ended up doing some branding for some ex-footballers, so a couple of ex-pros. And I played football at the time with James, who was the person who had the idea for the business. James and I played football, same midfield, all that kind of stuff. And I was away all the time with work, I was out in Brazil, for example, for 2014 World Cup, and I was going to a few different events. So I kept missing the season. Fast forward 6 months, and James sent me a text one day and he was like, I've got an idea for a business. Can you come and meet me at Waterloo? And we'll just go through this business. And he was being like, you know, he was a good mate of mine at the time. We're kind of like, not close enough to go for dinner, but close enough we're on the same football team. So it was a little bit. So I was like, well, yeah, can you send me some information about it? And he was like, no, meet me. Okay, cool, this will be fun. So I went down there open-minded, and he had his iPad, and he was like, right, you have a sports nutrition market, which caters for people in the gym who are trying to get massive, and for runners and cyclists and people who care about endurance over 5 hours of nutrition. No one's doing it for football. I think this is a mistake. Do you want to do this business with me? Do you want to quit your job? Do you want to do everything? And me, like an idiot, went, yeah, all right, that sounds fun. That was how it started. So we didn't have a knowledge of football supplements at the time, but what we did do is, and I always kind of liken it to James kind of put together this Nick Fury Avengers style of worked in football, bring him in. And we've got like some branding guys who'd worked for like Nike and Adidas. He brought them in. He knew some nutritionists that had worked with other teams, so he brought them in, and we just created this kind of business full of people who know more about their own specific topics than the other one does. And it went from there. And obviously, because it was a good idea, I mean, I think there's something like 7-8 million footballers play football once a week in the UK. So it just became, yeah, you're catering for a need that was quite obvious. And the next best thing about it is that we were kind of creating our own market.
Yeah.
Like all the other people, like if you're, I don't know, let's say Uber, taxis exist. So like you're just kind of creating a new way of doing an existing market. Like what we were able to do is supplements existed, but football supplements didn't really. Football supplement culture was very much, I'll have a pint after the game, on the way home. And, you know, like it's kind of like your extra protein is if you have a pepperoni pizza instead of just your margarita. Like it was like the culture in this country especially. And we've never wanted to take away that culture. we're just thinking, well, if you have some protein with it, then you probably won't hurt tomorrow. And mindset.
I like that. I like that. It is a good point. You're never going to change football culture, especially at, Sunday league and amateur level. That's part of the joy of it. But if you can help people along the way, then it's definitely beneficial. So what was your first product? What did you drop first after that?
We had 5 core products that we started with. We had whey, we had recover, which was essentially whey plus carbs. We had a fuel gel, which was just a carbohydrate gel. Our focus gel, which was, yeah, that's the one. Was essentially fuel plus caffeine.
Yeah.
And we had hydrate, which was like a powder drink, so isotonic that you'd put into. That's one. With our core 5, and then quite shortly after it, we added hydration tablets, which are you drop them into water and it fizzes up and you hydrate. And that was kind of our 6 ones that we started with for like the first 2 years. We now have 35 products, 40 products now as we kind of continue growing. But it's interesting for us because what we end up saying to people is, what do you want us to do? So we'll just ask football clubs, hey, what's missing? And they'll be like, you can really do with doing this. And we'll be like, yeah, give us 3 months, we'll sort it. And it's great because we're the only ones that are, or we were the only ones till people started copying us, that are doing it specifically for football. We kind of have that first mover advantage that we can go talk to a club and say, hey, see that energy gel that you're taking? What don't you like about it? If you were to make it for football, what would that look like? They then create a different way of doing it for football, give it to us, we build it and they come. It's great. Like it's
build it and they will come.
But it works.
So what is obviously we're talking a lot about the differences, you've got your gym supplements and then you've got your different sports, particularly, and like you said, gym and triathlon endurance are were always the big ones. And then this being specifically football. Why, how is this different? How is this different from if I was to go down and buy something buy something for a triathlon, buy something for a gym? How does this actually differ despite other than it just has the name soccer on it?
Yeah. So quality of ingredients, the big one, level of testing, the big one. So depending who we're looking at. So your long distance endurance type guys, they do this similar kind of testing in terms of high standard of anti-doping. But the dosages are different, the ingredients are different. So again, if we were to compare it directly to someone who's running a marathon, they would probably want their energy delivered to them slower. So a single source of carbohydrate, like a glucose or a maltodextrin, would allow them to kind of burn the energy off slower. You wouldn't get the energy for an hour, but it would stick with you for 3-4 hours and it would kind of slow drip. We've got a 90-minute window. So we use 2 sources of carbohydrate to give you quicker energy. We use more expensive sugars, better sugars. So again, you get in your body quicker. And that's kind of how we look at it. Similarly, if you compare to your gym goer, so again, they kind of just want lots of protein at the cheapest possible price because they're all about getting the gains and they're just all about protein. Can I smash into this blender before I end? Yeah. So for us, we know that the optimum is about 32 grams of protein. So for us, if you're going to get 32 grams of protein, that's kind of what we figured out was the most that your body can even take on board in one single sitting before you're just making really expensive whey. So we ended up looking at, okay, well, what's the best quality protein gets? Therefore, using an isolate instead of a concentrate, which means that you've got about 10% more protein and about a third of the fat. So if you get that plus the dosage plus the testing, because again, the Informed Sport Testing Accreditation is World Anti-Doping. It's great. It kind of checks for everything, but it's slightly overkill if you're someone who's just going down the gym and trying to get massive. You can probably trust it, therefore you don't have to think too much about it. But for professionals or for people looking to replicate the pros, it just makes sure it's 100% safe and everything's kind of taken care of from that perspective.
You have on the back of all your stuff informed anti-testing, banned substance tested in every batch. So for example, you work with West Ham, you've just signed up with Harry Kane, I believe, and you've got Dybala on your books as well, all kind of faces, representatives of soccer supplement. And particularly West Ham is one that, because obviously you can have Harry Kane as a face, but West Ham, you see them on the pitch and the players are walking around with soccer supplement gels. They're the ones they're taking. So you have to know that you're giving these to elite athletes and they have to know that they are 100% safe from any testing that's going to come about from them. So it's kind of like, in that way, Sunday league footballer myself, I get this lovely trickle down from something that West Ham are going to use because it's on the same level. Would that be fair?
But it's really similar to, like, the logic applies to shin pads or even football boots. You know, like if you see Harry Kane wearing this pair of football boots, that might make you want to get those pair of football boots. People do see the trickle down from the top, and that's why it's so important that you're ticking the boxes that the very elite look for, because ultimately, one of the delights about our football pyramid is that in theory, you can always make it. And you see players like Ian Wright or Jamie Vardy, you know, they didn't get into the professional game till very, very late. So for us, if you are setting standards from the right age and you're 22, 23, you know, all the way through, I mean, I'm 30 now, but I still feel like I've got it in me. I just need a chance. But, you know, if you set this right the whole way, then you do have an opportunity to do it. Therefore, if you set yourself up properly and you start taking things seriously that professionals take seriously, and that's a big mantra that we have, is like, replicate the pros. Look at what they do and copy it. And that applies to everything from your sleep to your nutrition to your supplements to everything that goes with it, how you train. Yeah. We're a big believer.
No, absolutely. And I'm going to go to a question here that got asked to me, and I don't know if you're going to be able to give me an answer on it. Maybe you can from personal experience. But so I have a friend over in Australia. It's called Tom. He's a goalkeeper, and his biggest problem is his games that kick off at 1 o'clock, because we talk about prepping like a pro, the same video that I made. I prepped that as if it was a 3 o'clock game. And the thing I appreciate about your product is that you're not about, here, take this is going to make you better. You still really push towards, you've got to eat the right foods. And this is literally a supplement. But his big thing is, like, how do you schedule around a 1 o'clock kickoff? Do you just have to get up super early? Do you have an answer for that? Or do we just have to suck it up? Because breakfast isn't enough and you haven't got time to get lunch. That's the problem.
I am a huge believer in bananas. Like, so much, but bananas are an absolute superfood. Like, they ingest quickly, they're light, they're not too heavy. Like, you just end up regulating what you're taking anyway. So I wouldn't say get up super early, but if you get up 9 o'clock-ish, get some breakfast down, you're fairly sharp, and then start prepping for one. You just don't go too heavy on things. You know, if you're wolfing down 3 bowls of porridge, yeah, you're probably going to bring that back up later. You don't want that. So you go for something that's lighter. Again, bananas, fruit, coffee is always good. And that's where our supplements can really come into play, because it is a large carbohydrate dosage and it's fast-acting carbs. It's a large caffeine dosage, it's fast-acting. So I think those kind of scenarios is where energy gels can be so important, because it gives you a dose of what you need really quickly ingesting and then go from there. So
you could take something like fruits, and particularly, as you say, bananas, and use that as a lighter food, like, because you're obviously not going to get lunch, but really do combine that with your gel to get the energy hit that you're looking for. Yeah. And the bananas are going to be good at, like, regulating and actually making you feel that little bit more full.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that thing of, like, you know, even having like one piece of toast instead of having a big massive breakfast. I mean, I always struggle to eat in the morning when I've got a game. It's always something that I struggled with, that it's almost like a kind of, I wouldn't want to call it nerves, but I couldn't really think of anything else to describe it, that when I get up, I just wouldn't want to eat. So I would, like, force myself to have a banana, because you can kind of microbite it. And then as I started supplements, I started realizing that actually the gel's quite easy to take. And nutritionally speaking, there's quite a good comparison between our bananas, our gels and bananas even. We don't do bananas yet, although I think
branded bananas.
Branded bananas, yeah. But, like, there is quite a good comparison between them, and that's because bananas are very good for you. The difference being that our gels can sit in your bag and get bashed around and blah, 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 whereas a banana can't. But yeah, I mean, they're good for, I recommend to people all the time, like, have fruit, have your vegetables, have your fruit, eat light, but I would say probably you might just have to get up half an hour earlier if you've got an early ticket.
Suck it up and get up earlier, Tom. That's what we're saying to you, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously, you like you say, you play yourself. You still have, you've got that dream of being Jamie Vardy. I'm 35. I gave up on mine and started collecting boots instead. So obviously you still play. What's your go-to product? What's, like, your favorite soccer supplement? I have to have this.
Well, if I had to pick one,
just one.
Focus 90. Focus 90, it's very good for just giving you a kick up the backside. See, when you feel like, I even use them before I go to the gym and stuff. Like, see if I just can't be bothered to go to the gym, and as soon as, like, my mates laugh at me because I'll take the Focus 90 and then I'll be like, well, now I have to go because I've got
too much energy
around me that if I don't, I'm not sleeping. So it's like, it's good for that. But yeah, I'd say Focus 90 is probably my favorite, and our cherry flavored one is my favorite. Yeah.
I will give you of what I've tried. So I've tried your vegan chocolate protein, the Fuel 90, the Focus 90, the Hydrate 90, and I've got some of your multivitamins as well. And the one that I think has the one I've actually used the most is the Hydrate 90. I've just started drinking that just for fun because it tastes quite good. But the Focus 90 is the one that I took and was like,
you feel it.
Okay, that works.
Like, it's beta-alanine, which most people, anyone that goes to the gym, any kind of watcher and stuff that goes to the gym will be familiar with beta-alanine. It features in a lot of pre-workouts anyway. It's just we've done beta-alanine plus citrulline malate plus caffeine and an energy gel. And, you know, there's a few professionals that have 2 of them before a game.
Wow.
Like they're sending it. It's I mean, fair play to them. And obviously, if you're a pro, you adapt slightly different. But when I have one, I feel it. I like sprint to the gym and I'm there, like, let's go.
Well, for my video, what I took it as, and then I went out to replicate Jesse Lingard. Basically, I went to try and match his stats. So I got all of his average stats while he's played for West Ham, and I went to try and match that. I went to run as far as he did, make as many passes, things like that. But it wasn't in a game. I just did it like as a closed test so that I could try and hit those numbers. But like, I still felt like this Focus 90 was just hitting me like 10, 20 minutes or maybe 10 minutes after I started, because I did that 30 minutes before. It just hit me and I was like, I kind of need someone to come in some challenges right now just to burn some more of this off.
Fired up.
Absolutely. But you... Sorry,
there's also loads of studies that caffeine and things like that will improve performance. So it improves jump height, improves repeat sprints. So there is lots of backing in it from a science perspective that it will actually give you an edge to have. You know, the dosages that we have in our products aren't there because they taste good or because it looks good. They're there because that is the optimum dosages. So when we wrote to clubs and we said, hey, see these caffeine gels you use, how would you want it to look? They came back to us and said, this level of this level of that, and can you add some of this to it? And all we've done is just literally take what the professionals optimized and made it mass market. And that's part of the kind of success of what we've done, is that it is optimal for football and it is exactly what the pros are using.
Okay, so that's kind of how your products are basically being made. You have an idea for a product, something that maybe pros are looking for, and you're going to the clubs, for example, as I say, West Ham that you work with, and you're asking them directly, what do you want? And I assume speaking to their nutritionists to kind of get that information?
Yeah, nutritionist, head of medical, head of performance, whoever it may be that we're kind of better pals with. Our products come around one of 2 ways. One, it's a partner club that says, hey, I love this, this, and this, but I wish you would do this. Or it's a new club. So a club that we've signed up 5 or 6 new teams for next season already, announcements coming, et cetera, et cetera. And a few of them, they've said like, yeah, we really want to work with you, but you don't do this one product that we need. And for us, it's like, let us know that now and we'll have it ready for August. Like, it's really easy for us to formulate and create new products. We're all made in the UK. Like, it's simple for us to do that and get it all tested. So we just ask that question, what do you need from us? And then we go away and make it.
That's the best, it's the best way to do it. And it was a question I definitely want to ask, is like how you decide what to make, because obviously it is one thing having a lab and having people testing, but to get it kind of almost do it in the reverse and then go back seems to be a solid way of doing it. Now, you mentioned earlier about kind of pro players adapting differently to the caffeine gels, and obviously you working with pro clubs and things like that. Do you find that, are you working with any of the women's clubs, like WSL clubs, for example, West Ham? And are you finding that there's a demand or a requirement to have kind of a different level of supplement between maybe male and female athletes, or is it fairly uniform? Because obviously the way that we process things is quite different.
Yeah, it is uniform in the sense that, so one of my big criticisms with this industry, and I've spoken to a few people about it, is that there's a phrase they use, which is pink it and shrink it. And it's annoying. What they do is you just take a male product, they turn it pink and make it smaller, but it's actually irrelevant. Like, there's no real studies. There's a couple of things about, for example, women have a slightly higher fat percentage than men do, just genetically. Yep. And there's slight things or some multivitamin variations that would be required during menstrual cycles. So there's those kind of things that I've looked at. But apart from those 2 things, the nutritional requirements are actually fairly similar. And actually, if you take someone like a Lucy Bronze or a Vivian Miedema or those types of elite players, their nutritional requirements will be way bigger than mine, who's 6'2", but kind of chubby, not that fit, can't do box sprints the way they can. So actually, to take a comparison between an elite women's player and, like an elite men's player, they're both doing quite a lot of sprints. They've both got a really similar output, and they will adapt accordingly to their own body size, shape, weight, whatever it may be. If you have a centre back or a striker in men's football or women's football, Raheem Sterling and Van Dijk have different body types, as opposed to a striker and a left back in women's football would be the exact same. So nutritionally, it is really similar, bar the small tweaks that you get. And there's a couple of ingredients that their study's been looked into to see if it can be a female specific ingredient. But all the companies that I've seen who have created women's supplements are falling foul of the pink it and trinket. And as soon as you look at it, you're like, it's so transparent. Don't do that.
It's the classic, isn't it? Like the classic, like Gillette razor blade. Like you get a men's blade for €5, not that I use them, for like €5, and the women's one's exactly the same, and it's just pink and €10.
Yeah, and slightly smaller with one fewer blade.
Yeah, and they're going to charge extra for it because they made it pink. It's a classic problem. But I think your point is incredibly valid. That you said Lucy Bronze, so you're already in my good books. She is like, I love Lucy Bronze. She is the greatest. And like taking her and comparing her to me is insane. Like she'd run rings around me like all day long, and she'd be running for days, and I'd be wheezing on the sideline somewhere. So as you say, there are a few other brands now coming into making football-based supplements, as you would say, copying you. Why would you say that you are? Why should people pick you? Why should people pick you over anybody else?
Because we're the only ones that aren't diluted by anything else. So everyone else, if you are company X or company Y and you've been making running supplements since the 90s, and now you're deciding that you want to come and make football supplements, no matter what you do, you're still not a football company.
Yeah.
You don't have football at your heart. You don't have the England captain as part of your business. You don't have Paulo Dybala on board. You've not got that fundamental, which is we are football first and we are football only. So you will always be second to running. You will always be second to cycling. They will always look elsewhere before they look at football. And that's what we've got as an advantage, that we're the first movers and we do everything first. That's why they're all copying us. And we've got FTSE 250 companies who copy us on our branding, they copy our packaging. We love it.
Yeah, like happy days. We'll take that.
Everyone could pay us.
Oh, absolutely. If somebody starts like trying to do what you do, and they're a much bigger company, because I'm sure you're happy to admit that while you are like the first in football, there are supplement companies that are much bigger but focused in other areas. If they start to copy you, that's definitely a nice little thing to get, isn't it? A nice little pat on the back.
Absolutely. It's the best thing for it. I mean, I'll be honest, first time I saw it, it annoyed me for about 20 minutes. And then I went, well, actually, that's quite a good thing. We're like 2-3 years old when other companies started bringing out football ranges and copying our 90 prefixes. And we're just like, come on, but go for it. Thank you.
So like I mentioned earlier, I have your vegan whey, your vegan protein, vegan whey, that makes no sense. Your vegan protein, because I am a vegan, and Soccer Supplement seems to cater quite nicely to me as a vegan. Like there doesn't seem to be much in your range that I can't actually have. So my question is twofold. How like vegan friendly are your products? Like, and also, are there any kind of dietary requirements that you can't cater for? Is there anything that is there anybody who has a dietary requirement that should avoid Soccer Supplement? Not that I'm trying to get people to not buy your product, but kind of as a public service announcement, is there anybody who should maybe be cautious of picking up supplements in general? Yeah,
obviously whey and recover are both used whey. Therefore, if you've got requirements, i.e. if you're vegan, or if veggie's a weird one because it's like honey. People are vegetarian, sometimes say it isn't, sometimes say it isn't. So that's depending what type of veggie you are. Yeah. And then I guess if your religious requirements talk about not using certain animal products, that would be worth keeping an eye on. But again, I don't have an in-depth knowledge of religions to know who that would apply to, but we had it sometimes with sales to the Middle East, where they've been asking questions about using whey, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, with our new collagen product, which isn't out yet, exclusive.
BootWizard exclusive. Thank you very much.
Up on the screen. We used to use a crustacean-based collagen, which was okay if you were Muslim, but now it's switched into a bovine collagen, which isn't, and we have to quadruple check it. But that is definitely something that, again, keeping an eye on that one if you've got certain religious requirements. But those are the only ones that I know that stand out from me. And of course, I would say anyone just quadruple check yourself. But all of our product, like gels and stuff and all that, they've got no animal products in them. And yeah, it would just be the whey and the recover that I'd say keep an eye on if you're that way inclined.
And people can always get in touch with you guys to obviously double check if they want to. Ingredients are on the website, but they can obviously get in touch with you directly.
Yeah.
Maybe not you personally directly. I'm sure you've got a customer service team, but
yeah, I'd love it not to be me directly. People put, Mark, what's in this? Now, come on. But
I've got Mark's number now, guys. Like, feel free. Like, I can send that. Don't do that. So, what is? I've asked you a couple of questions about you. Do you have like a set pre or post match routine that you like to go for that you would like to share with with BootWizard?
Do you want my official what I should be saying or what I actually end up doing?
No, I want you. I want what you actually do.
Oh, okay. I've got some bad habits which I'm getting out of, where I convince myself that having something like wine gums or fruit pastilles are like good for you pre-match because it's supposed to shoot absolute nonsense. I'm kidding myself and I should know better, but I do that on occasion. As I said, if I've got a morning game like a 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever it may be as well, like kind of early in the afternoon or a morning game, I'll tend to go banana and coffee, and I tend to go quite hard on coffee, and then I'll have a Focus 90 gel or something like that will kind of keep me going. And then I find that after the game, I'm so hungry, I'm desperate to eat something because I've calmed down then from the match, and I definitely have like a post-match shake. One thing I'm really into at the minute is our whey protein, a spoonful of peanut butter, tablespoonful of honey, a banana, and almond milk as a shake. It's sensational and it works really, really well, and it's super filling, and I add some blueberries to it if I'm feeling bougie. But that's my post football, post gym little secret.
I will put the recipe up on the screen. Do you want to give that a name, Mark? Do you want to like name that and we can make it like your official shake, and I'll put it up on the channel?
One of my friends, Matt Cousins, I'm going to name him because he made it all the time. He got me on it, and if I had highlighted that I have it without calling it the Cuzzy, he would tell me. So it's called the Cuzzy. If you're going to call it anything, it's called the Cuzzy.
Okay, there we go. Then we're going to put the recipe for the Cuzzy up on screen if anybody wants to copy that, and we will include at the bottom, add blueberries if feeling bougie.
Yeah, that's the one. COZZY, Cuzzy.
Perfect. Now, we are BootWizard, of course, and I love talking about all things football, shirts, supplements, games. You know, we covered the Super League, we've covered women's football shirts recently with Foudies, and I would like to, as always, move the conversation to boots because it's important. So I have, the first question actually is you could lose yourself a lot of potential buyers here. Who's your team?
I support all of Soccer Supplement's partner clubs. No, I'm kidding. I am a Rangers fan, so that's my boy team, Rangers. Although half my family are Celtic fans, so I end up going to loads of Celtic games. It's super.
Oh wow, that is a divided household.
It is indeed. And then since I've moved down to London, I've went to loads of Arsenal games. So I've always been an Arsenal fan up until the point that Harry started working with us. Now I'm a massive Spurs fan. So, really, I can be bought or sold depending on whatever is required.
Essentially, whoever signs with Soccer Supplement can buy or sell you like all day long.
Yeah. Well, it's quite interesting because like I went to Arsenal Sheffield United last season up at Bramall Lane, and I was with my mate, big Arsenal fan. We were in the Arsenal end, and then Sheffield United won 1-0, and I can't help but being like, that'll make a good Instagram post tomorrow, though. Like, I'm still like, it just takes away some of the edge of football. It's the same like when Harry scored against Arsenal in the league match when they beat us at their stadium. And I was like, my mates were all texting me like, "You've done this," and I was like, "Yeah, I probably have." Like, I'm like, "Yep, I'll take it." So I didn't. Like, I find myself getting way more passionate though for the Scottish national team since we started working with them.
Yeah.
So like, I've always been a big Scotland fan anyway, but it's been quite nice to kind of. It's quite patriotic, you know, when your company sponsors your national team and then they qualify for the Euros. And I was a bag of nerves during that penalty shootout. So it's, yeah, I would say it takes some of the edge off being a football fan when you're working with so many different teams. But at the same time, my roots are still Rangers and Arsenal.
You see, I'm English, and I was like super like behind Scotland in that penalty shootout just because of how tense that was. That was nuts. Like, so that's going to be huge.
Yeah, I was an absolute mess. And the thing is, I had that added weight behind it because all my friends and family, we announced working with Scottish national team about 6 months before it. So since we started working with them, Scotland didn't lose a game.
Oh.
And we're on a bit of form. And my mates were like, "Oh my God, soccer supplement must be great." And I was obviously enjoying it. And then it got to the penalty shootout and I realised like, if we lose, I'm going to get blamed. And I just didn't want the heat.
All of Scotland is blaming you immediately.
I was so, which is like, yeah, it was ridiculous for me to have that mindset. But as soon as we did win it, my phone also blew up like it was my birthday. Like everyone's texting. So I was so happy with it. And I'm really looking forward to the Euros. And I've said this to loads of people, like I cannot foresee any series of events that doesn't end up with us winning it. I just think 2004, Denmark 92, like I've been calling John McGinniesta since the start of the tournament. Like it's coming. It's coming back to Glasgow.
If it does, I will literally buy one of everything on your website.
I mean, exclusive again. Scotland have won the Euros.
Okay, the final question. It might split into two parts, but what boots do you wear? You play? What boots go on your feet?
Oh, I'm going to get slaughtered for this because
I was going to say BootWizard's going to rate this. We're going to judge you.
Okay, so my current boots are, you know, those boots that just scream "kick me." I've got a pair of Vapors, bright pink.
Are they the Mbappe Vapors?
Yeah.
The bright pink ones with the swoosh around the front. So, you see, you may think that obviously those are like, they're bright and they do scream "kick me." They really do.
I deserve it. Yeah, 100%.
But at the same time, you have to realize that this is a channel that is generally dominated by boot enthusiasts. These are people that are just like into their boots. And the Mbappe boots are so popular. Like everybody would kill for a pair of those. You are going to get a lot of love for rocking out in bright pink Mbappe Vapors.
The next thing is I do wear them at centre back. Which doesn't really, like, it's poor from me, I'll be honest. And I'm Glaswegian, so like there's like, think of the old legends of yesteryear, like Alan Hansen just rolling his eyes, seeing me, being like, "You're a disgrace to Glasgow," and I'm like, "Yeah, I get that." But yeah, that was a far cry from my first pair of boots or my first few ones that I had. But I just love them; they're so comfortable, and I'm like, "Oh well." I probably shouldn't have them in pink, but it was an impulse decision. I
have 3 pairs of that exact boot because I think they're so good. I have basically an all white pair with a bit of red, which also is very much "kick me." I've got a kind of bright blue pair, which is the launch color with like big Nike graphics around the back of it. Oh no, I only have 2 pairs. I sold the other pair. I did have a pair of the Mbappes actually. And I have said on this channel many times that everybody should wear the boots they're most comfortable in and wear boots that they like. So it is completely irrelevant where you play as to what you should wear. And I support your choice of wearing Vapors in bright pink at centre back. Everybody, please do let me know what you think of Mark wearing bright pink Vapors at centre back. Do you play in Scottish leagues? Is that as well?
No, I live in London now, so like,
okay.
playing league
I've got a couple of friends who play in Scottish leagues, and they always tell me that if they turn up in like bright white boots, they're just liable for an absolute kicking.
Well, you do, yeah. I mean, and I think you get it down here as well, and like I fully deserve it. And people make comments and stuff, and it's not so much that they're pink; it's just that they're luminous.
Yeah.
Like, it just screams kick me.
I support your decision. Do you have like an all-time favorite boot, or like one that you've had before, an early one that really kind of stuck with you?
It's between two. So my first pair of boots were the old Puma Kings. It's the first ever boots I've got. And Peter Lovenkrands wore them in the 2002-2003 Scottish Cup final, and I loved those boots. And then 2004, both boots from Nike and Adidas in 2004. So the F50s with the spider webs. Remember the ones?
The F50 Plus. Yeah, the F50 Spider, as they're known. Those are like gold dust these days. People go crazy for those.
That's probably my favorite boot of all time. And that was one of the reasons, like, I started supporting Arsenal because of Ashley Cole. I just thought he was an absolute hero, like, loved him.
That was an error.
But I've actually met him a couple of times since. I met him at Soccer a couple of years ago, and I was having a chat with him. He's the nicest guy. And loads of Arsenal fans are like, oh, Ashley Cole, this. I'm like, to be fair to Ashley Cole, he is the... So I'm so biased on this, right? But in my opinion, he's the only English player who has a genuine shot at being the best in his position ever.
Oh.
He's that good. Like, he defined a position. He's won everything. He was at Arsenal at the peak, then went to Chelsea at their peak. Like, he is absolutely sensational. And he was just ahead of his time. That's all it was. He just knew he knew he was worth more than what Arsenal had. I mean, it's pretty bold. I'm going to get hate for that comment, but I'm like,
you definitely are. And I'm waiting for two sets of comments, both the Arsenal fans coming after you, purely because obviously the whole Arsenal to Chelsea thing, and also the Roberto Carlos fans coming after you for claiming that Ashley Cole's better than the Roberto Carlos. Like, everybody's coming after you for that one.
Just like Roberto Carlos, sensational footballer. Like, it's not that I think he's better or worse, whatever. It's just then Ashley Cole is definitely, if you're having a discussion about the best left back of all time,
he's in the conversation.
Definitely in the conversation, as opposed to, I don't think you can have, if you make a world 11, like, there's plenty of what people might say Bobby Moore, and yeah, fair play, but he's not my generation. I don't know him as a player, and there's lots of great centre backs throughout time. Left back's not like Ashley Cole's up there. He's definitely up there.
He would easily be well in with a shot of being for the best Premier League left back of all time, like, without question. Like,
I doubt it's more. I'm thinking, but I genuinely, like, on a world basis, I'm thinking Roberto Carlos is, again, sensational, but it comes down to, is it or is it not? The other boot that I really liked, just on the point I was saying there's two of them, is this, I think it was 2004, 2005, and Ronald de Boer had them, and they were the total 90s with the 90 in the instep. And I had them in red, and then I had them in gold because Ronald de Boer had them at Rangers.
The gold with the white on the front. But yeah, those are a phenomenal boot. You know what? You have endeared yourself massively to a boot community today with your list of those F50 Spiders, those T90s, the T90, well, the T90 Air Zoom 3s, and your current Mbappe Vapors. You are going to be a very popular man. So that is all we've got time for today. I want to say thank you to Mark for jumping on and having a conversation with me. Of course, head over to soccersupplement.com if you do want to pick anything up, and you can use the code UPMyGame5 to grab yourself 20% off. So thank you to Soccer Supplement for that as well. Of course, you can follow us here at BootWizard by heading over to Instagram at BootWizard Boot Reviews, or you drop a subscribe on the BootWizard YouTube channel. Let me know what you thought. Once again, huge thank you to Mark today. That's all we've got time for. Thank you very much, and we will see you very soon.